Hello, welcome back all. This is Naresh again. In this video, we will go over the Hudi table structure and create our first Hudi table and find out what is inside in this folder structure. So for this one, in the previous video, I have shared my GitHub links. So I'm using the same GitHub link. As part of the GitHub links, we have a class called the Spark Hudi generate data. So this we are going to create a Hudi table using this Java program. So the basics as we need to set the Hadoop home directory and the Java library path. So after that, we need to create a Spark session using the Spark conf. So this is a Spark config. So we need to set few of the parameters to tell our Spark environment that you are going to write a Hudi table, and to write the Hudi table, use these are specific configurations required for it. So the first one is like we are telling it to like we are going to deal with the Hudi table. So use the class as a Spark Hudi, our Apache Hudi, and then we are telling it to create the Hive meta store. Uh, like this is something we will I'll show in another video, like how the partition meta folder structure will change in case of Hive versus non-Hive when we are writing a Hudi table. And we need to tell the serializer, this is a Cairo serializer, this is a default serializer for most of our Spark configuration, but we are explicitly specifying. And the other thing is we are telling it to use the Spark to use the Hudi catalog. So instead of this configuration is required that to read the any table data or any file system that is of the Hudi, we are telling the Spark to use the Hudi catalog instead of the Spark default catalog. And also we are also telling it to this Hudi extension, like this Spark session is extended version of the Hudi. I mean, there is some extra configurations get added when the Spark session is get created. And also the Spark Cairo registers. These are the standard configurations required for our to create a Spark that works with the Hudi table formats. Okay, we created a Spark session here, and then we are going to create a data frame, and then we are going to write these data frame or data sets into a Hudi table. So for that one, I'm going to create a structure for it. So this I created a struct variable, and then I added all the columns and their respective data types, whether they are nullable or not. So for this demo, I'm adding creating a rider's data. So for that one, we are creating a few of the variables like the rider name, the driver name, what is the fare, and in which city the ride happened. And these two variables also they have some significance, but we will explore them in the next video. So that is about our data frame structure or the schema for our data frame or the table. And then we are going to create a sample data for that one. So we created a row array. So we added a sample data with the rider name, driver name, and the city that happened, and fare, how much the fare they paid for the ride. So and then we're creating a data frame out of it. So and we are writing this data frame as an Hudi table into the file system. So to tell the Spark to write as a Hudi table format, we are telling the format as a org Apache Hudi. And whenever we are writing the data into the file system, we wanted to partition the data by a city name. So that's what we are mentioning, like use this partition column as a city. Okay, and then we are telling it the table name. What is the table name for our this data set? That's a Hudi table name as I'm creating as a table as a trip table. And there is another option of the Hudi table type. This is of table types of Hudi. In the Hudi there are two types of tables. One is a copy and write table, and other is a merge and read table. So those will explore in coming videos. And then when we are writing for the first time, I'm trying to overwrite the table data, and I'm going to tell that where is the table location. Like on my system, when I was storing this table data, store in this location. This is the location. You can specify whatever it may be. Um, so having said that, these are some of the basic configurations required for our first Hudi tables to be created. Let's go and just create the Hudi tables. So before we go and create a Hudi table, so here I am in the trip table. So let me go and delete this one. As we are overwriting that, it should be fine, but I deleted it. So let's go and run our Spark job to create our first Hudi table. If you see here, when the Spark job is running, we can find some of the Hudi configurations. You see, the Spark is started, and it's saying that if you see some of the log messages related to the Hudi, like the Hudi table, what is the Hudi table type, and where is the Hudi table, the metadata is going to store, and what is the table data, where the table data is going to store. Some of this information you can find it. So, and also you can see that some metadata is getting created as part of this Spark job run. Think this is created our Hudi table. Let's go and check the directory structure on the file. So this is a table, we just created it. That's a trip table. This is a path we tell the Spark to store the table data. So here we have the table data, and we mentioned that create the table data by partitions as a city name. So we have a different three cities. So those three cities names are showing up here as the different partitions. Partitions are is kind of a directories on your file system. And then the most important thing for us is like the Hudi. This is where all the metadata required uh, to to say this is an Hudi table. Inside this one, we have a directory. Inside this directory, there is a file called the Hudi.properties file. This is the file where it will store the details about that Hudi table information. If you go and explore this one, let me open this one. So if you see, this is a Hudi table, Hudi that property file that we created, and it has like the table name. Where is that? Yeah, here is the table name, and then some of the table version name, and some of the key generator class. So this is something generate a unique ID for each row. When we are storing the table data as a Hudi format, and also the table type. So if you remember, if you see that even though I created a table type as an merge read, for some reason Hudi is putting as a copy and write as this one. uh, Maybe it's a bug maybe in this Hudi. Maybe we'll see if they can change it in the new versions. And also we mentioned the partition field, right? So CT has a partition field, right? So that's what our partition column information it's storing here. Here, to summarize, like here, what is the table type, what is the table name, and what is the partition column. Some of these metadata required for the table. As you know, that Hudi is about on the Parquet file a lot of metadata. So that's what we are seeing it here. So and inside this one we have some there is another folder called the metadata. It contains some further metadata related to the Hudi, and here also we have some other Hudi.property file. But for some reason here I see the correct file table type name, but in the previous one I don't see it. In the previous the metadata Hudi.properties file in the above section. We don't see that one, but we still see the table information here. Okay, so this is a quick overview about the Hudi metadata, and then let's take a look at how the data file gets stored. So if you see, we mentioned a city as in a partition column. That is why we have three different folders. We have three different cities the ride happened. So let's get into the Chennai and see. So inside this one, we actually have the actual files, file names. So this is again, here is also some metadata related to the partition, and then actual the data is storing in this Parquet file, Parquet file. So yeah. So this is about the some of the metadata structure of the Hudi and the data file structure of it. Most of the time, we don't need to worry about this table structure or file structure, but just it would be great if you know the internals of it. So the next interesting thing is, let's we created the table, and the table got created, right? Let's go and I read the table data that we created, a Hudi table that we created, and see how the data looks. So for this one, I have another Spark, simple Spark code that's creating a Spark session with the Spark conf. These are the default configurations for the Hudi. And then when I'm reading the file data, I'm telling that this is read as a Hudi file format, and I'm specifying that the base path for my table. So that will create given a data sets, and out of this data set, I'm creating a view so that I can run the query. So I created a view, and I'm creating a I'm running a SQL query on that one and showing the data out of it. So if you see in the previous when we run the first time, we created how many rows? Like we created the 5 rows. So when we run that one, when we read that, it should return the 5 rows, and the 3 rows with the San Francisco, or one is with the Chennai, and I don't know what is this city name. Pardon me. Okay, let's get run this program and see what it is returning. Okay, it's getting starting, reading this Hudi metadata, and then here we go. We have the data from the Hudi table. So the Hudi, along with the data, it has an extra columns. These 5 extra columns, these are the Hudi metadata columns we call. So they all have some significance. We will review them in the upcoming videos. So the columns we are interested is these columns, like the columns we mentioned while storing the data into the Hudi table. So here we have the 5 columns, and then what the values of those column names. So this is how we can read the Hudi table. And the next thing we wanted to do is we wanted to see do an update on the table and see whether the really updates applies to the table. So for this one, I have created another Java file that is having the same code as most of these Spark configurations is same. Here I'm here I'm reading the data, the trips table data, that Hudi table we created, and then I'm applying some kind of updates on the table. So I created the data frame, and I am trying to update a rider D, the fare details. I'm trying to add update the fare multiplied by 10 times. So that's I created a data frame. This is standard Spark code. Everybody can understand. And then I'm trying to write this updated data frame as part of our Hudi table. So that's what I'm mentioning, like the format is in Hudi, and the operation is an upset, because I don't want to override the existing ones. I wanted to do an update, find and record and update it. And also I'm mentioning the partition column name is this one. and my table name is this one, and I'm going to write into that file system, right? So use the append mode instead of the override, and I'm mentioning that this is the my base path for the table structure. So if you remember this one, let's copy this output of this table we read into some text file. So here we have the mm, rider D is having the 33.9. So, but as part of this update, we are going to update the rider D with the fare is multiplied by 10 times. So let's run this Spark job, Spark code, and see what will do. It will do. So it's basically read the table data and update the table data with the fare updated multiplied by 10 times. Let's see, it's going to write. Yeah, it finished it. So we have the data now. The table got updated, and then let's read the table data. I'm using the same the previous code of reading the table. So let's see if the data get updated or not. Here you go. So the data got updated. If you see this, the rider D fare is updated to 339.0. So let's compare with the previous read. So if you see that the rider D fare got updated with from 33.9 to 339. So and that's a San Francisco. So if you see this one, how many rows here we got it? Like we got the 5 rows, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out of these 5 rows, how many for data related to the San Francisco? There is 3 records we have it. Oh, and and because we are reading as in a Hudi table, so we got an updated data. But what so as we saw that the data is storing on the file system, right? So this is the San Francisco partition. Under this we have the partition folders, partition files. So let's try to read on this partition file and see what is there. Directly reading this partition file, Parquet file as is without the Hudi format and see how they will look like. So for this one, I'm creating another Spark job. Yeah, I mentioned all of them like Spark configurations. This is a plain Spark configuration, but I'm reading as a uh, I'm reading as a Parquet file. I'm reading as Spark read Parquet. I'm not reading as a Hudi file. I'm just reading as a Parquet file. I'm reading all the files in the uh, San Francisco directory and see what is these files will. So I believe we should get the 3 records for the San Francisco because we have the 3 records when we read the table, right? Let's see what we'll get it. Ooh, we don't have the 3 records, we have the 4 records. You see, for the rider D, we have the two records. Rider D, one is with the 33.9 and other is with the 330.90. So if you read as a normal file system, on the file system it has a Parquet file as is. That's why when we read it, we got the 4 different records. This is a duplicate record, updated record. But the interesting thing is, let's review this some of these metadata files that will give some understanding of why we have the when we read the as a table, we got the 3 records for the San Francisco, but when we read it as a files, normal Parquet file, we got it as a 4 records. So if you see this one, here we have the let's observe these the values, these Hudi metadata files for the rider D. So if you see here, this guy rider D is here and here. Rider D is here and rider D is here. So you see there is a change in the commit time. So this means because we updated the rider D data, right? So that's why the commit time on this record was changed. And also the record key also the record key also the same, but the commit time was changed for this record. So when we are reading as a Hudi table, it always try to give a records with the latest timestamp. So if you compare the two timestamp, I think this should be the this one should be the latest timestamp. So that's why we when we read as a Hudi table, we got a three records, and we you can see that timestamp also here rider D, and the timestamp is rider D. The timestamp is like see. Mm, okay. I have to read the table, then we can get the timestamp. Let me get that one first. So rider D is yeah. See, this is the latest timestamp that we received when we read it as a table. When we read it, this is the results of when we read it as a table. When we read it as a this is the results of when we read it as a files. But you see, the timestamp is matching. That it's not returning the old timestamp value. Mm, let me read this one. Okay, so this is read as a files. Files. When we read as a files, the rider D for the rider D, we have the two entries. One is a old entry and the other is a new entry. But when we read as a table, when we read as a table, we are getting this. I think these are same. Both are same. When we read as a table, we got the latest records only. We did not get the old records of it. So this is the when initially first time when we read the table, this is the data we received, that is of driver D with uh, a fair as 0, and then we read as a table after update we got the data as 339, and but when we read the files under the directory of the San Francisco, we read the two entries for the rider D, one entry with the 33.9, one entry with the 339.1. But when we're reading as a table, it's always written the latest timestamp value. This is the timestamp value that you are seeing in the when you read it as a table. That's about this some of the internals of the Hudi tables. So in the next video, we will go into do some kind of updates, time travel, incremental. We'll go on explore more of features of the Hudi. Thank you.